Welcome everyone to Every Action's new leadership series, Leading with Every Action. We're interviewing industry experts to discuss important topics that are facing nonprofit leaders right now. In this two-part series about guiding with focus and clarity, we are talking with Lola Elfman, and both of these topics are going to be available on our YouTube channel. I'm Jamie Muller, she, her are my pronouns. I'm the Senior Director of Partnerships at Every Action. I'm lucky enough to work with agencies and consultants and other technology providers who are supporting the nonprofit industry's needs. I'm also a former nonprofit leader myself, and so the topics that we cover are very near and dear to my heart and of great interest to me, and I am excited to be talking with so many great leaders in this space. Today we're going to be talking about what leaders need to do to care for themselves and their teams, and how to guide their teams with clarity and direction in order to be successful, especially as we head into a new year. So again, this week I'm being joined by Lola Elfman. She's founder and CEO of Develop Well. She is a certified leadership coach and master facilitator who believes that everyone is a leader, not just those that sit in the C-suite. So Lola, thank you for joining us again for the second part. I'm excited to talk to you today about leading teams and what that looks like in today's environment. So I guess to start out with, last time we talked about challenges that are facing leaders, but specifically, what kind of challenges are leaders facing today when it comes to leading their teams?
Yeah, well, thanks for having me again, Jamie. Like we talked about last week, I think leaders are feeling so much like they're trying to do everything. And that does not change when talking about their teams. And sometimes that everything may shift a little bit from trying to give their team everything and, taking things off of their team's plates because they see how burdened they are, or it's pushing their teams to do everything and deliver. And that can also burn them out, right? I think the pendulum is swinging really, drastically on both sides. But it's just that sense of, as I was thinking about this, it's like people did so well. It's so commendable what folks have been able to do the last 2 years and get through. And it's really a testament to our resilience. And yet, folks are done, right? This is not new news to anybody, and folks need a break, and we just cannot be going at this pace. So that is putting a lot of pressure on leaders, especially the most senior leaders who are trying to, they're looking at the bottom line, they're looking at what projections are for 2022 and saying, okay, this is the pace we have to keep up, and looking at a workforce that is tired and exhausted and trying to balance. So I feel that right now. And I think teams are looking to the leaders to make some really key decisions and choices that are going to be to the benefit of everyone. And that is the responsibility of leaders, which again, is a lot on folks, but that's what's going to help teams be really clear about what they need to do and how to spend their time.
Yeah, you're raising such an important point. It's that the idea of the start, stop, and I forget the third aspect.
Start, stop, continue.
Continue, yeah. That's it. It wasn't even an S, but yeah, it's, and working in nonprofits, and I know that I experienced this. I managed 100 volunteers on a crisis hotline, and we were a staff of 10. And I was cleaning bathrooms in the morning and managing, overnight staff and all this other stuff. And whenever there was a gap in resources, it was always one of the leaders picking it up and taking it on, in addition to devising the strategy and managing people, instead of really looking at, why don't we have these resources? Is this something we should continue to do? And it was a lot of burning out, maybe not even for the right reasons, if there are any good reasons to burn out in the first place. But yeah, leaders tend, especially I feel like in the nonprofit space, tend to try and fill where there's resource gaps instead of finding where there is balance in saying no more, more than they already do, or making tough decisions in order to keep everything more in alignment with realistic expectations.
Yeah.
So to that point, how can leaders help focus themselves and their teams on what's most important so they can find more balance going into this next year?
Yeah. Well, last week we talked about the wheel of leadership, which was really for, individuals, but that's actually a really great tool that folks can use to say, what do we want to be focusing on right now? What should we give our time and attention to, and what things are going well and okay and don't need our time right now? I think it's really about intentionally saying yes and intentionally saying no. And so I really along with the start, stop, continue, actually thinking the tool of now, next, later. And that way there's a transparent, unified list of things that a team is going to work on and do, but it's clear, here's what the priority is. And maybe that's on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or even a quarterly basis, but a set of time where you're saying, right now, these are the 3 things we're focusing on as a team. And the next thing after that will be this. It's sort of the who's on deck right now. And then everything else on the list will come after that. It doesn't mean that it's less important, but it actually helps differentiate better between that urgent versus important versus, this is what the priorities are. And sometimes saying no to things and saying, look, I'm not saying never, right? I'm just saying later, right? It's on this list. We'll come back to it. Helps free up that brain space, right? That's the piece that people wake up at 3 a.m. being like, I forgot to do the thing, right? Or I can't forget this. We want to free up that space of people trying to hold it all in. And I think that can be really liberating for leaders and staff to know that there be no confusion. Here's the thing I'm supposed to be focusing on. So I really think, again, now, next, later it's so simple and yet so clarifying for folks. Yeah, I know my team really appreciates when we do that. Today, what do I need to do?
Right. Yeah, you're right. It is so simplistic, but it also is very helpful for those that are frustrated with pace or see a vision of where the potential is, yet feel like, the organization or the program is only focused on these very important things right in front of them. But so by verbalizing that, by documenting it, by showing people where the path is leading, you're helping everyone head in the same direction and satisfying those that are more visionary or future focused. Well, and then also satisfying those that are very task focused and making sure that they're not getting overwhelmed thinking that everything is a priority at once. So I can see how that can be just a really helpful exercise, even though the concept is very simple.
That's right. And I think that's the idea. I work with people in developing larger strategic plans and mapping out their 2 years, and there's big picture, what are we going to achieve? But then we have to zoom in to right now and say, okay, well, this quarter, what are we working on? What are our goals? And how does everything add up? And sometimes I'll ask people and say, okay, by the end of 2022, right, in December, what do you want to have achieved? And what will you have done? If we're successful, what will we have done? If we fail, what might have happened, right? And work backwards, because there's always a first step. And the same thing with that wheel. We ask people to say, it's not from going from a 4 to a 10 on the wheel. It's what's the first step of going from a 4 to a 5, and then a 5 to a 6. And I think that's my theme, is small, incremental, but action steps, right? You're moving, you're not paralyzed. That's the other thing I think I see, is that folks just get so overwhelmed by everything. They don't do anything. And then it all adds up, and then they're at the end of the deadline and freaking out. And we don't want that either.
Yeah. That's a procrastinator's life in a nutshell right there.
I know. I mean, I speak from, being one sometimes.
Yeah, me the same. I think that's awesome. And just so our viewers know, we in the description will have a link to get that wheel of life. And Lola and I were talking about before this that she actually was facilitating a group, and they were putting team focuses on their wheel of life and talking about how satisfied they were in each of the areas as a team. So you can really use that wheel of life for yourself, in all aspects of your life, for your leadership or your organization, and then for your teams as well. So it's a really malleable tool, and one that you can just pull out anytime to do for any situation. I know my team has all done it individually, and we were just talking about doing it as a team as well, which I think will be really great. So Lola, too, I mean, you talk about paralysis, you talked a little bit about trying to do everything, about not prioritizing. What are the other traps that leaders fall into, or what are things that you would recommend that leaders try to avoid? Maybe, you know, at a time, maybe we could focus first and then talk more in general, but when developing a strategy with your team, or when developing that direction with your team, what are some traps that you commonly see leaders falling into?
See people doing the same thing over and over and not iterating or changing it up a little bit. And say, oh, this worked last time, it's got to work this time. And there may be elements that will work again, but there may also be things that need to shift, right? So as we're moving, we were potentially all in person to all remote, and now a hybrid of it. This is why I named this session was like more, less, different, right? It's that same thing. Like we may do a little bit more of this, right? Because it's working. We may do a little bit less of this thing because it's not quite working for us anymore. And here's something we need to change up. And on this, one thing I'll offer actually is just like in our meetings and how people are communicating with each other is to do a little bit of an inventory of how are we communicating on email, on Slack. Are we doing all video calls? Are we going back to, we've been doing some just like old-fashioned phone calls, and it's been so refreshing. Who knew, right? But those kinds of things, seriously, just saying we don't have to keep doing things the same way. We got so good, again, at the beginning of the pandemic at iterating and seeing what flexibility was really possible. And we need to keep doing that. Not so much that we're changing all the time, but just that we're being adaptive to what our team's needs are. And so I was just thinking myself, you know, with the meeting inventory, it's sort of the who, what, where, why, when for each thing. Which calls are on the calendar right now? Are these the right calls? Are the right people in them? Are there people that don't need to be in them? Can they get the notes from it? And that's okay, right? What about emails, right? How are we using email? How are we using Slack and Teams? You know, things like that. Just naming some of that, I think, gives people some clarity of here's what I can expect. Here's when I'm going to get information. And also, here's what I don't have to worry about. Again, it's like freeing up that space. So I know that that seems a little more tactical than the strategy part, but in that, how are we going to execute on the strategy? It just really thinking about how we're spending time together, I think can really help folks be like, oh, okay, here's what I'm involved in and here's what I don't need to be involved in.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really good point when you're talking about strategy, because and we talked a little bit about, I think we were talking about this with Sonali last time, a little bit about, and maybe it wasn't even on our actual call, but she was talking.
It was in our chatting. Yeah.
It was in our chatting, but Lola's counterpart, Sonali, that was on our last call, was talking about, you know, needing to have tactical, task-oriented things to do, and also big picture, right brain, you know, creative thinking things to do. And if your day is full of tactical meetings that may just even be just draining you, you don't really have time to have that big picture strategic thinking so that you can get to that strategy. And so Absolutely. It is a really good thing to do. And I'm glad you also mentioned about changing things up too frequently. And I wanted to kind of follow up on that. Is is there something or a way that you'd recommend getting feedback from your team on what they feel is most critically important to their success when it comes to meetings or deliverables, and how to do that in a way where you're not changing things all the time?
Yeah, I think it's helpful to look at what is your natural cadence and when are there natural cycles in your work. So some people are on a quarterly, if you're a sales team, you've got a quarterly sales cycle, or some people are more in like a project sprints, right? But you look at that flow, and it's usually more than a month of time, but maybe up to like 6 months of time, where you're going to look at and say, okay, for this block of time when we're working like this, here's how we're going to optimize how we're communicating, how we're using meetings, how we're operating. That may actually flow with individual people's schedules too, if they have childcare needs or other outside obligations. Same thing with like people doing Peloton class or going, for a run, things like that. It's like, if it's not going to be within the 9 to 5, maybe that's your agreed upon, right? I've actually noticed that like our team has gotten very 9 to 5, and it's great, right? It's like, but some people on my West Coast friend, I'm on the East Coast. We do have a couple West Coast people actually prefer working East Coast hours with us. And that's been okay. But we had to have a conversation about it and name that's what it is. Because my other West Coast person likes to work West Coast hours. And so the rhythm we've gotten into is that they will actually send me things by the end of their day. And in my morning, when it's quiet, because they're not online yet, that's when I'll look at those things, I'll approve them, I'll do feedback and send back to them, right? So we have that cadence. I think it's really all about naming it, talking about it, and saying, this is what we're doing. Otherwise, it's making the implicit explicit, basically. But to your point, what you were saying about our conversation with Sonali of the like task-oriented time versus like room for big picture thinking, that is 100% how I manage my schedule. And it's taken me a while to get to that point, but I have 2 days a week where I just have work block marked out for 2 hours. And I don't always know each week what I'm going to be doing in that time, but I know that it's going to be my time to design a new workshop or write a blog post or like do some big picture reflection or thinking or planning. And then other times are going to be my back to back, I can jump between call and call and call, right? But if I'm expected to jump between a call, write something, and then jump on another call, my brain can't do that as well. So I've sort of trained myself to have these windows of time and had that conversation with my team about, here's how I'm structuring my time. How are you structuring your time? And we had to kind of fit it all together because it's not like everyone works that same way.
Right.
But yeah, so it's an art and a science.
Yeah. You're raising a good point about leaders need to figure themselves out and how they best work, but you also are in service to your team and the way they work, and each team member and the way they work as well. And so you're right, there is so much balance that's required. And it's really important that you said you need to be able to talk about it and create a safe space for your team to be able to share their feedback on how they feel that you're operating as a team and optimizing your time. So I think it's incredibly important what you're saying, and it's a good time of year as we're ending this year. Like you said, you could do this every quarter, you could do it
Right.
when it makes sense, but it is a good time at the end of the year to just kind of take inventory of everything, like you said.
Yeah. And model the boundaries that you want others to set. I think it's much easier for us to honor and respect other people's boundaries and then be more flexible with our own. And actually, we can, by honoring our own boundaries, we're demonstrating to others that they can and should do that. And still naming what our needs are. Like,
right.
Hey, these are the needs, these are the expectations I have. It doesn't mean letting people just name everything that they're going to do on their own. Because like you said, that means then sometimes you're picking up the slack of that.
Right. Yeah.
So there is a conversation to be had of here's what our needs are, the organization's needs, here's what our individual needs are. How do we come to a plan to make those things both possible? And that's an intentional, thoughtful conversation to have that I think is part of, again, leaders being clear with their teams, right?
And it's wonderful that we're having these conversations versus it being very authoritarian, punch in and out. My time, my time is your time is not your time anymore. It's a great place where we've gotten to, but we still work within, especially in the US, in a very 9 to 5 worker driven, kind of culture. And it's the leaders that need to acknowledge and shift that kind of mentality and culture so that they can get more out of their workforce and talent and have a happier workforce and talent, especially in the nonprofit field. It's sometimes we're in hard jobs, and having a great leader that is helping you find balance is such a valuable asset to have, for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Lola, how should people connect with you? What's the best way?
Well, folks can find me at developwell.org. My email is lola@developwell.org. And I'm there, and as well as my colleagues like Sonali, who was with me on the last session, who's a coach with us, and other coaches and facilitators who work with us.
Lola's the Develop Well's website has a wealth of information and resources, so definitely check it out. And she has some great programs lined up if you're really interested in upping your leadership skills and your team. It's a really great resource for sure. So Lola, thank you so much for joining us again. Thank you all for joining our series. I hope that you were able to gain some additional insights on how to manage expectations for yourself and your teams, which will hopefully lead into a wonderful 2022 and beyond. And we look forward to seeing you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everyone. Bye.